Hey, what is up YouTube? This is Platinum Point, and I'm here to bring you guys yet again another video. Today we're going to be exploring the power of One Piece's 4 Emperors, Red Shanks. We're going to be going over card choices, the deck list, as well as some of my thoughts surrounding this particular strategy. So stay tuned, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. So before we begin, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and click the bell for notifications, as I am going to be uploading more videos, whether it be One Piece, Vice Schwartz, Pokemon, and maybe a little Yu-Gi-Oh! Where I'm still kind of mulling over whether or not I should be thinking about going back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Content creation. But overall, I really am enjoying kind of showcasing kind of the various decks that I've played. I know a lot of people are going to be saying about my Yamato list that it was very subpar. I'm going to be honest with you, that was just something I was kind of cooking as a rough draft. I've been going through, I'm going to show you guys right now, I'll put it on the camera. Shit, the camera keeps. But yeah, I'm constantly going over this list in my head as well as in testing. So the list isn't 100% solved for me, in my opinion, for Yamato. I'm exploring various builds of this. So yeah, I'm not gonna defend that list. It has gone through so many iterations ever since after that recording. So yeah, don't worry. And like I said, I'm not an expert at this game. I'm still learning it, and that's something I am going to be transparent. I'm not a really good player. In fact, the one that's honestly better than me, obviously better than me, is the one that played second place at our recent nationals for One Piece, and he's actually in the same, who plays at the same locals that I do. So I'm not gonna say I'm an expert in this game. In fact, I'm coming from it. Again, I'm playing this game at someone who's played Weiss at a competitive level, not at the highest level, but I would say I'm pretty decent at the game. At Vice Schwartz, pretty good, and I'm going into a new game, so it's still gonna be a huge learning curve. Heck, I'm literally de-rusting in Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, so it's yeah. So enough of me rambling about this. I'm gonna go over the deck list. This is something that I've been kind of cooking for a while. I built this list based off of I forget which list that topped nationals, but it was one of the higher placing Shanks players, and I made some modifications to suit my own play style and what I've been kind of thinking about in terms of my reasoning and thought process. So without further ado, we're going to get on to the deck. So we're going to first start off by discussing the leader, Red Shanks. So what he does is once per turn during your opponent's turn, when either your opponent's leader or any of the characters attack, I can select that character, that attacking character or attacking leader, and give it -1k. So this allows me in the early game, for example, if they're trying to swing with their leader for 5, basically reduce it to 4 and not connecting. So this makes guarding very easy, and it's this at the same time it makes it very tricky too, because knowing when to proc the -1k is something I'm still trying to figure out myself. And I managed to get myself a copy of the alt art, but I also have the low rarity art behind it. But yeah, I managed to get the alt art leader, and I actually like this art. So without further ado, we're gonna go into the deck. So your strategy is basically taking advantage of the -1k to defensively to make it easier to defend, while at the same time allowing your board to be a lot more difficult to break because of the constant -1ks. So we're gonna start off with the 1-drop. I'm playing 4 copies of the 1-drop Uta. So what she does is she's your generic searcher. On play, you get to check the top 5 cards of your deck, choose 1 Red Hair Pirates cards from among them added to your hand, rearrange the rest of them in any order, and place them to the bottom of your deck. So you add 1, place the rest to the bottom of your deck in any order, and it's your generic deck filtering as well as deck speed. So we play 4 copies of the Uta. Next, I play 4 copies of the Otama. This is your just generic 2k counter, as well as the power minus is the minus 2k power. It can be useful sometimes, but mainly you're using it as a 2k counter. And continuing on with that logic, I'm actually playing for the 2 costs another 2k counter, which is the Sanji. So what this Sanji does is an act ability, which is I get to take a card from my life to my hand, and then give this character 2k, and then when I do that, I get to give this character two of my rested dons. So up to 2 of my rested dons. So this can easily swing in for 7k, and I basically play this so when I'm going up against Marshall D Teach or Blackbeard, I'm able to at least have a 7k beat stick, and also gain hand advantage at the cost of my life. And then continuing on with the 2k counters, I play 4 copies of the Lime Juice. This is an anti-blocker for 4k or less power characters. So you get to select their weak blockers and prevent them from activating that ability. I mainly play this for the 2k because it's a searchable 2k counter, as well as the Hongo, which I play 3 of. It's here because it's a searchable 2k, and I can play it for its ability to tap itself and activate main to tap itself, give an opponent's character minus 2k, which is fine if I'm focusing on a removal build, which is one of the reasons why I play this. I would play this at 4, but my main goal for this deck is not to prioritize board breaking. Well, it is an option. I feel like it's not really a needed. I have been debating switching these 2, and it's something that I'm gonna decide switch, probably change after with more testing. But right now I'm just running a 4-3 split of the Lime Juice Hongo. So I'm playing right now 14 2k triggers, and it's actually pretty on the heavy side. I want to try to get 16 in the deck, just because having more options to block and protect yourself, especially with this deck, is really nice. And then moving on to the 4 costs, I play 4 copies of the Lucky Roo blocker. If you don't know what Lucky Roo does, it's a generic blocker, but it also has this on KO ability, which is you get to KO a character if your leader is a red-haired pirates. One of your opponent's characters whose original power is 6k or less. So the reason why this is very important is because since it says original power, that means even if they pump the power of their character, if the written stat power is 6k or less, you can KO it, which gets past especially Black Yellow Luffy, which they love to power manip in order to help stick more damage onto the board, and by just denying them more pieces, it's a really good blocker for that. It's also really good against the mirror match and even purple, which loves to do kind of just power manips. So from my own personal experience, that's why I like this card. Is just so good as a blocker, and I think it's a mandatory 4 of in this deck. This one I'm teching right now as a 4-drop. 3 copies of the Kid Killer. So I wanted to focus on a more aggro-oriented Shanks list, and from my testing, if I can get my opponent under 2 life Usually that's when they'll amass a decent amount of hand size to basically try to have block multiple instances of attack. And if I have 5 Dawn remaining and I happen to have this, I can easily play this after like committing, let's say, with how many different attacks on the board. And this is easily, when it comes in swinging, when my opponent's at 2 or less life, it's a 7k on its own. So with Dawn, it becomes an 8k, which makes it more likely to stick if my opponent already has committed resources for blocking. So this is just here for more added aggression, especially if I'm ahead in the damage race. So it forces my opponent to commit more pieces, as well as to answer this piece, this attacker, if they can't finish me during their turn, because this will be just a consistent 7k swing really easily, and it is problematic for most players. Not most players, but most like just average players. And then for the 5 drops, I'm only playing 4 copies of the Yasop. So I've seen some builds play the 5 drop Ace, and I don't mind it, since it does have the ability to kind of just like absorb removal. But most people nowadays just answer it by just swinging into the Ace, and I'd rather just like, and since I'm not playing a Whitebeard deck, there's no point in playing the Ace, so I just cut the Ace out and just played the killer, and instead just ran the 4 Yasops, as it does give my leader plus 1k cross turn, which is really nice. But it's also a 6k beat stick. With 1 Dawn, I can just soften targets, or even soften blockers where they soften just beat stick, so it allows me to swing in nicely after they attack, and forces them to commit more resources to block, to defend their board. And then for the 7 drops, I play 4 copies of the Beckman, which is basically you get to trash a character with 6k power or less, and the best part is it's not a KO, it's just trashing it, so it bypasses anti-KO effects. And what I like about this Beckman is it's also a 1k counter. So the problem with Shanks is you're already running a lot of bricks, meaning characters without counter power. You're running on average about 12 to 15. I think 12 to 15. I think I've seen some lists run 13 bricks. And the problem with Shanks is you're going to eventually run out resources or not draw enough counters to block. So I wanted to still have big beat sticks that have good effects, but can also be used as countering. And Beckman, it just fits that role really nicely. That's why I played as a 4 of. And then the last 7 drop I play is the Newgate, which is basically a jack. If you're not familiar with this effect, it has the ability, not only so the first one is on play, choose one of your rested Dawn and attach it to one of your leader or characters, however you like it. And then the second ability is activate main, rest this card, KO a character with 5k or less power. So this is your continuous removal, and this is really good against matchups like Doflamingo. It's good against Blackbeard because you get to clear their board pretty easily. And the thing with Blackbeard is they need a decent sizes board in order to push for damage, as their main game plan is just to try to negate your on play abilities and establish a board. And since Newgate's removal is not an on play ability, you're going to prioritize this over the Beckman, hence why I play it as a 3. But in most cases, you don't need to play this unless you're trying to just thin the board out. Most of the time for 7 drops, you're going to either be playing a Beckman or one of your lower cost characters to push advantage. So I run it here because it's basically one of the best removal cards for red, and it's just an overall really strong card, and you need it, especially in this meta where a lot of people like to build boards to swing wide. So I'm gonna move the rest of the cards over so I can have room. Ooh, So continuing on, we have our 8 drops. I'm playing 3 copies of the Monkey D. Dragon. So what he does is on play, I can give up to 2 of my Rested Dawn cards to either my leader or one of my characters. And it's a rush. So this is just here as a 8 drop 9k rusher that allow. So if you don't know what rush is basically in One Piece you have summoning sickness unless some of your characters has the rush ability, which means they can attack on casting. And Dragon is one of those characters that has the rush ability. So on play, you can not only give 2 Dawn to your leader or to one of your already established characters, or even to himself, but you can also attack right away, which is really good if you're trying to go for game. So we're playing 3 Monkey D. Dragon. Next, we're playing 4 copies of Silver's Rayleigh. This card is actually probably the most expensive card in red right now in terms of base rarity. I think this is around 40 to 50 bucks per copy. And you need this if you're playing red because his ability is actually pretty nuts. So what's his ability is on play, you can choose one of your opponent's characters to give minus 2k and another character minus 3k. Then after you minus the powers, you get to KO a character with 3k or less power. So this is here to help you kind of just soften targets as well as potentially helping break boards really easy. And with the Shanks build, you're able to soften boards up pretty nicely, that if you're trying to go for the board breaking strategy to deny your opponent attackers, he's pretty much your go-to 8 drop. So we play 4 copies of that. And then lastly, for characters, I play 4 copies of the 10 drop Shanks. So he is a 10 drop 12k rusher, which also has the ability that all of your opponent's characters get minus 1k per copy. So if you manage to play 2 copies out, which I've done it like one time, a couple times in a match, you have a global minus 2k on board, and it's a 12k beat stick. So it's a really hard. It forces blockers, and if your opponent doesn't have enough resources to block this, you're killing your opponent with this 10 drop. One of the reasons why I personally like playing Shanks, because the ability to play rushers in this deck is just nuts, and the rushers are actually really good. So that's it for the characters. I am playing 3 events, which is 3 copies of Bad Manners Kick Course. I know some builds are playing the Red Hawk. In my testing, it's really not that good. And since you're playing a lot of bricks, I wanted to play this, as it gives free, it's a free plus 3k essentially while also fixing my hand. So I wanted to run it, and it pairs really well with the leader. So it is basically a 4k counter if you use leader ability to minus 1k. So it's a zero cost counter that you can use multiple times, and it just makes the math just easier without burning Dawn and having your opponent simply bypass which is Red Hawk's ability to KO a 4 cost or less character. I'd rather just not worry about KOing it if I can't, and then during their turn, and just if I have to, just survive the attack and then just beat over the character later. So that's it for the One Piece deck profile. I will be doing a couple more like this in the near future. If you guys want to see me kind of just discuss other builds, I happen to have quite a bit of leaders. So that I'm playing, I am playing Yamato. I managed to finally get an alt art Yamato. I do have purple Luffy as well as black purple Luffy. I am thinking about going to Marco. I actually switched from doing the Marco video and instead to do the Shanks video because that's the deck I'm currently playing, and I'm still like waiting for set 10 in order for me to kind of just go back into this list. And I also have my Blackbeard deck. So there's a couple. I have basically like 3 more decks that I'm gonna explore. And that's pretty much it. Like, I'm only playing these decks for One Piece, unless somehow they bring back my boy Edward Newgate, which supposedly he's in the next starter deck as a leader. So we'll have to wait and see if it's a new one or if it's the same card as the old one. And I don't like that one that much. It was good when it was at its prime, but the meta has gotten so faster that Newgate is just cringe. So I hope you guys like this deck profile. I will be doing a couple more videos. I have a discussion one planned up. And a couple like general like ranting ideas that like just talking videos that I have lined up. But I just want to showcase this One Piece deck because I promised a One Piece video a while back, and I've just been so busy that I didn't get a chance to sit down and record and edit one. So here it is, as promised. So I hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe. False crack that like button and subscribe.